If you are listening to this podcast, it means you're searching for someone who understands you, someone who gets you. You are yearning to be understood and to belong. Welcome to the Someone Gets Me podcast, where we help smart, talented, and sensitive people navigate an often insensitive world. I am Diane Allen, your host. My roles as ambassador, author, speaker, and intuitive mentor for bright and talented people are woven into each episode. I have the experience and knowledge to educate and inspire, as I have been there and I understand your unique intensities, sensitivities, and challenges. Welcome. Music, movement, and mental wellness. Hi friends, it's Diane here with my good friend Craig, and you're going to get to hear from him in a minute. I'm so happy to be here talking to you today about things that have a very big place in my heart. Of course, music does. You know that already. And movement does, as an athlete and as somebody who just loves moving my body, right? That's part of the overexcitabilities of us sensitive people. And then, of course, mental wellness. Now, I have an issue with the whole mental health thing because people pathologize themselves. So when I met Craig and he was talking mental wellness, I'm like, I want you on my show. Probably within the first hour of knowing him, I think I said, will you come on the show? Because he has a mindset that aligns with all of us. So you're going to love this episode with Craig. So go get your tea, go get your coffee, whatever you want, get your notebook and get ready to have some really inspired conversation that will take you on a journey that you're not expecting. So Craig, welcome to the show. Welcome to Someone Gets Me. I'm so glad you're here.
Thank you, Diane. I'm happy to be here, and I hope that we live up to the name and the objective here today.
I am sure we will. And so I have a question I kind of want to start with because I'm wondering it, and so I figure probably other people are too. I would love to know how you got started, even thinking about mental wellness, because that's a different term.
Mm.
And so give us a little of the evolution of how all this started to come to be for you.
Yeah, I think as a teen, I would have never thought in my life that I would ever be focused on mental health and mental well-being. Um, but during those years, I really struggled with my mental health. And so just because of some experiences and just really struggled. A lucky moment, the right person asked me, "Hey, are you really okay?" And and that's happened a couple of times in my life. And through those experiences, I would really realize that we only see half of people's battles. We only see half of the struggle that people have. Even I had an amazing mask on, and life was great on the outside, but it wasn't. And of course, I did nothing with that immediately, growing up, and but my world and the universe has just conspired to be this is my destination. And so it's something that is I'm intensely passionate about, and want to make sure that nobody has the same experiences that I do, and people offer help in their journey.
Oh, that's so perfect. So being that you're a multi-potentialite and and a lot of the people listening to the show are multi-potentialites, meaning that we do multiple things and we have multiple passions and we are good at all of them. And um and that's unique because there's a lot of strategy people. So we kind of need both, to make an organization run. And so when I met you, I'm like, oh, he's a multi-potentialite. And that as a visionary is really powerful, right? So you have an MBA, you're a businessman, you are into tech geeky stuff way more than me. Like I say, I'm a wannabe geek. Like I think it's fascinating, but I don't have nearly the knowledge that your little toe has. So how do you put those things together in your world, in your work world, and maybe even in your family, like technology and mental health? Like, how does that work?
I like to say that there's a process of how to map them all out, but it really more is just embedding myself into a problem and understanding what the challenges are and seeing how I can look at it from a different angle. I've got a little kaleidoscope here. Like light, that's how I see the world. Like the world is a kaleidoscope, and we need to look at the problem and then twist the lens. A great friend of mine taught me this, and as you start to immerse into these issues and understand how they are, then ideas start to come to you of potential ways to solve them based off of your experiences, what you understand about different solutions and things out there. And you draw them out and you throw them away because obviously it's not going to work the first time, but you just keep going and keep going and keep going until you start to see a problem in a new light and see a way to potentially bring a solution that hasn't come together before that solves things in a unique and impactful way.
Right. So you're creating an amazing intersection of these two things that has value, right? And yeah, it's funny because on this show a few episodes ago, I don't know, it was probably 100 episodes ago now, but I had a guest, Chuck Bros, on, and he talked about kaleidoscoping your vision and that you twist the kaleidoscope to see how things can work together. And then here you bring that up. I'm like, I love those synergies. It cracks me up.
Well, one of the things, I love to play the piano and like just kind of create music. And I've never created something based off of a tune that I know. It usually comes when I make a screw up of a song that I'm already trying to play. I'm like, well, this chord or this sequence sounds, not, I like this. How do I do this again? How do I add to it? And so when you start to screw up or look at things that are already out there that aren't working, how can you create some new melody and harmony to come together to start to make a new song?
Right. And it brings that beauty. So how does music help your own mental health?
It really is my therapy. A lot of times when I have issues, uh, quite frankly, I'm not ready to just immerse in them yet. I need to just let them be. And so I separate myself from it and go play the piano or the trumpet or whatever it is and not think about it. And I start to get a new perspective and a new comfort with the problem or challenge or feelings that I'm feeling in the moment. And it gives me fresh ideas, perspective, hope, whatever it is, by using that as a mechanism to just live in my situation, my feelings, my challenges, and then give that through that collective pause, able to then start to address it and come to fresh perspectives about it.
Oh, I love that. I love that living with it and in it because so many times I think people were taught in their society anyway to either mask it, medicate it in some way, shape, or form, deny it, or pretend like we don't have feelings. Like a lot of gifted people are like, brains on sticks. They when I ask how they're feeling, they look at me like it's a trick question. And I had a gentleman I was working with, and I asked him like to touch his knee. Just put your hand on your knee, and it was a new experience for him to actually feel his own body.
Mm.
So disconnected from his own body. And so I love hearing that you use music to bring that connection, because I think it's so important. And I think it harmonizes our brain, first of all. So that's a good thing neurologically. But I love that. I think that's really fun. And it's not hiding. So tell us a little bit about how movement comes into this, being active.
Um, I've always enjoyed sports. Ever since I was really little, whether that was soccer, and then as I got into high school, I grew, and so you can't tell on the camera, but I'm 6'4", and so in early high school, I was the tall kid, and so basketball was put in my lap. And of course, as a big Kansas Jayhawk fan, I embraced that moment. But um, unfortunately, as I got a little older, like I wasn't active for a while, and not ironically or surprisingly at all, those were some of the hardest times for me in my life. Of where recently I've started to get more active again and get out and go on walks, go on runs, ride bikes, do all these things. And that just brings just a different level of base. It's like a base level of feeling well. You exert yourself, you challenge yourself, and it just starts the day right, or you feel like your day can't end until you are active. And so has become just a key pillar of my day to make sure that I'm getting my steps in or going and doing something, to make sure, almost like music, it gives me an opportunity to separate from everything else and let the world come to me or wash away sometimes. And
Right.
so, yeah, yeah.
So is there ever a day you don't want to be active? You want to be like a couch potato?
Oh, regularly.
Okay, so what would be so what how do you get yourself up off the couch and to go do something to move when your brain is going, I don't want to do that.
Um, I move a lot. You can't tell, but like I'm always moving. I won't hold still for more than 30 minutes. I just can't. So I'm walking around my house. I'm walking, taking laps around my yard. So I'm just naturally disposed to it. But to actually go be active, I've tried to create ways to hold myself accountable. So one of the things is like I go on walks every day with my 6-year-old daughter. It's something that she and I love to do, and she gets upset with me when I don't do it. So building that accountability buddy, it's created a way for me to stay active and be active. And I'm also super competitive, so I've started a streak of consecutive days of being active, and there's no way that I'm going to let myself lose to myself. So I'm going to keep that going. So once the hardest thing is starting, and once you start, it's a lot easier to keep going. So I just give myself that little pep talk or create a little streak going, and then it's much easier to keep going.
Because we don't want to break the streak. No, absolutely not. It doesn't I'm laughing because when I first started doing a certain amount of steps a day and being active in a certain way, um, I was talking to somebody and they're like, "Well, how long have you been doing it?" I said, "Look, here it is on my phone. Like, I don't have any every day. Even if I go to bed and realize I didn't do it and I have to get up to get it done before midnight, I will do it. There's no way once I get started, I'm going to not do it." Yeah. So I'm laughing, going, "Oh my gosh, I remember doing that. That's crazy." It's true. But I also think it's important for accountability buddies. And all of you who are listening and watching us right now, that's a really big thing. Like, it's good that you have your 6-year-old daughter because you don't want to disappoint your daughter and she's sick. So she has like a double whammy effect to get you
Yeah.
moving, right? But also, that's why people have trainers. And that's why people have other people in their world and friends that do things with them. In the ADHD world, we call it body doubling, right? Where we have another person to engage with us because it keeps us going. And so, in the intense sensitivity, gifted world, our brains require connection to another human, somebody else of the same species, in order to thrive. We can do things alone, and most of us are introverts, so that's tricky, but we really require another person to thrive. So, you bring up a point that's salient to everybody who is listening, that accountability buddies are essential. So, here's the phrase, everybody: you can't read a label from inside the jar. Having people outside of you walking along with you, being a co-pilot, like that's what Craig's that, and I love that phrase, being a co-pilot with you, being that support in whatever way that means, is one of the most valuable resources that we have. And it serves the other person. I had somebody just the other day go, "Well, I don't want to get an accountability buddy because I don't want to put them out." Well, it's an honor for them to be your accountability buddy, and they're benefiting too. It's a mutual benefit. So that's a really good point that I think a lot of people make the excuses in their head, like, I don't want to hurt anybody. I don't want to put them out. I don't want them to think I always need them. And those are stories we tell that are actual lies in our heads.
Well, and I think on the flip side too, a lot of times we can be the ones to initiate helping somebody else, whether it's a mentor, a coach, a accountability buddy. Somebody out there is hoping that somebody offers help. Like I firmly believe that we all need somebody to offer us help in our lives.
Mhm.
And so go be that person, volunteer, say, hey, how can I help you? And I guarantee that you will grow more than they do from that experience, and it'll help you out more than it'll help them. You don't know it yet, but it's part of the journey matching up with somebody in that way.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's true. That's very true. So, has there been a time in your life where you did that, where you reached out to somebody and then you look back and go, wow, it really affected me in a great way?
Yeah, it's one of those, my perpetual owing of paying it forward, because like I mentioned earlier, people have done that for me, and it literally has saved my life. And so I try to do that as often as I can. And when I've managed people, when I've started working with people in the work environment, especially, all the time I'm trying to find ways to just show up and say, "Hey, how can I help you?" It's my favorite question in the world to ask is, "What can I do to help you?" It's so easy to get centered on our problems, and it's funny because it catches people off guard. Like, wait, you're asking how I'm doing it, how I'm doing, what I need help with? I don't know. I don't need help with anything. Like, no, you do. What can I help you with? And repeatedly, that has been helpful.
Yeah, that's a good one, because I remember when I was talking to you and you said, "What can I help you with?" I said, "Well, I want you to be on the show." And you said, "Sure." And I thought it was a great question, but I can understand why people would go, "What?" Like that. It's odd in a way. So I want to shift gears a little bit, because you've managed people and you're in the business world, and I think there is an intersection here that's important, and that is managing and working alongside and working with people who are also multi-potentialites and very gifted or visionary, or have these really like kind of outlier skill sets, and everybody trying to like put together whatever the project is or whatever the thing is. What are some tips that you have? How have you managed to be able to successfully manage a bunch of outliers?
Yeah. Um, I I think it's very important to understand that there's a difference between managing and leading. A lot of times we just marry them together, that managers and leaders are the same thing. Managers are working towards completing a task or an objective with a focus on the business itself. And that is foundation level. Beyond that, leading is understanding the person, their objectives, what's important to them, making sure that they feel comfortable, supported, heard, and even inspired. So spending a minute in their shoes and understanding what's important to them has been one of my great secret sauces working with people, is just saying, all right, we both know what the task is. That I know how to manage you. How do I help you? What do you want to achieve? And how do we marry this objective from a business perspective to these aspirations that you have? And then just cheer them on and coach them along and celebrate the successes and failures and everything in between along the way.
That sounds like fun.
It is. I love it.
it,
I'm a absolute people person.
Yes, I know that, and I think that is a vital piece of it all, right? Like, you love to be around people and you love people, and so you love to learn about them. And I think that ability to reflectively listen is vital in that. And if you're not listening, like really with your heart and your ears, and just really paying attention to what somebody's saying and also what they're not saying, it can make sometimes leading and managing a bit more challenging.
Well, and one of my favorite things to do is just imagine what people could be. Not even them telling me what they want, what they're trying to do, is just see who they are and projecting them, what I know about them out 5 years, 10 years. What is their legacy? And what are the things that I can do along the way to be a catalyst to ensure that those things happen, whether they know that it's even possible or even relevant for them at the time? How do I help create a world for them that makes those things happen?
That's beautiful. That's wonderful. So, what would you tell a parent, a father or a mother who has children? A lot of people have young children, of things they can do to foster mental wellness and health and belief in oneself in a world that sometimes is chaotic and sensitive and wants to kind of shove people down. How do you do it as a father? How do you help your daughter live her best
Mhm.
and express?
Um, Well, just give yourself grace. Number one, you will get it wrong every day, 100 times. But number one is be there. Just be there. Put the phone away. Stop trying to manage them or force them to do whatever, but just be there with them so that you create a safe space for them where they want to be around you and you can have an authentic relationship. Because and I'm really bad at this because I'm very much a like high standards person, and like we just talked about what I see what they could be, so I push them really hard. So I have to spend a lot of deliberate energy of just saying, okay, you're a 6-year old doing this thing, and great. What is it that you want to do about this? To just be there. Like, can I color with you? Can I sit and watch you? Can we play on the piano together? And just be. The more you can just be, the more authentic of a relationship you can build, and the safer and better it becomes as they grow.
Yeah, I think that safety is really, really important, especially when the world's kind of chaotic and tricky out there sometimes. That safety is vital. I'm glad you brought that up. That's perfect.
And the
Okay.
last thing on that is it's never too late.
Mhm,
If you feel like you have gotten to a point where you don't have a relationship or a situation that has got out of control, whatever it is, I mean, just admit, like I told my 8-year old just yesterday, hey, I did not manage that situation well. And I'd love to go back, but I can't. And I'm sorry. But I would love to start fresh and go forward in the best way that we can together. Would you like to try that with me?
mhm.
And so it's never too late to try to make it right and to try to build what you want the relationship to be with your kids.
Oh, that's perfect. So I told you guys that you would get a lot of inspiration from Craig, and you already are. I know it. So if you go in the show notes, you'll know how to hunt him down. His website and LinkedIn information is in the notes along with the formal bio. So I knew you would love it. And I want you to know that you can reach out to him because he's open to that. And those links are in the show notes. So what I really am curious about, because I have all these questions in my mind, what I'm really curious about is what you do personally in your inner landscape to maintain being kind of grounded but yet fluid. Like how do you manage like kind of walk through the world as that's kind of insensitive when you have so many sensitivities?
Um, Practice, and I think really I am still learning every day who I am. So like number one is just learning who I am and how I live. So I know that I'm sensitive to certain things and certain times of the day I'm this way and certain types of situations I'm that way.
Mhm,
And so just acknowledging those things helps me be grounded in what my natural tendencies are, but also help me to realize how to step out of those if the situation when the situation is needed. So, and my favorite quote in the whole world comes from John Wooden, the world famous UCLA basketball coach. Things turn out best for those who make the best of how things turn out. Every situation that I've been in has had some massive failure as part of the theme and event. That failure has been a foundation for me to reach a height that I never thought that I'd be able to. But it took that moment where things didn't go the way that I want them to, and I was vastly disappointed, struggled, failing miserably, outcast, whatever it is. Those moments like were the true moments where I learned the most and gave me the biggest opportunity to grow. And so that quote really is to your point. That's
mhm.
be malleable. The situation is now this situation. What do I want to do with it? How do I want the story to end? The story's not over until you close the book. So don't close the book, turn the page and start the next chapter.
Oh, I love that. It's true. And sometimes in those worst failures, we call them, something really amazing comes out of it if we just turn the page instead of throw the book away,
Go.
right? Okay, so now I'd like to talk a little bit about the work that you do and your mission currently, because I really think it's very powerful and I think it's important for people to hear about. And so, Raise Health is the name. And share a little bit about how you got to that, about the name, what your mission is. Let
Yeah.
everybody know what's going on. Now, remember, the website is in the show notes, you guys. So go check it out. But I want to hear from you, from your heart, this mission that you're on.
Yeah. So you kind of heard my personal journey of struggle with mental health and being fortunate that somebody was there to offer help for me. And so my career across a couple of different industries where I've accidentally ended up into health tech, it really shaped this perspective of a systems view. And the need for outreach, kind of combining my tech world and my passion for improving mental well-being. And that's why we started Raise was how do I find the 17-year-old and 19-year-old version of me that wasn't getting help but desperately needed it. And so we started building some leading edge technology that can detect mental health state of people based off of how they're interacting and communicate and help connect them to the right resources at the right time to deliver that impact proactively and help get upstream. It's really our mission is how do we use systems and approach things from a societal lens to go drive outreach and improve the mental well-being of as many people in the population as we possibly can.
Wow, it gives me goosebumps actually. I think it's so important. And what I love about what you're saying is it's not the reactionary wait till there's an emergency and then figure out how to solve it. Though we need to have that skill set. What about all the rest of it? What if we could avert most of those emergencies by paying attention several
Yeah.
steps before, so
Yeah. And our health system is designed to be transactional, which makes it feel like whack-a-mole. And unfortunately, that's where we're really good at reacting to crises. And that's what our model is designed to do. But if we look at things differently and get proactive, those crises, the majority of time, are completely preventable. And we're playing games with people's lives, waiting for that trap to pop. And so that's really our goal is how do we help organizations, communities, education environments find those people who need help before that avalanche starts when it's just a single snowflake and an opportunity to help them at the beginning of need to help build healthy habits, mindsets, tools to go be well so they can get back to doing well.
right, yeah, because we live in a society where I've heard it 100 million times in my several decade career of, well, wait till they hit their bottom. When it's a crisis, then there's help. When they get arrested, then there's help. When they're in emergency room, then there's help. And you look around the community and the society, and there's very little known help for anyone that's not already in a crisis.
Mm.
So that makes your mission much more exciting and deep for me because I've lived in that world where it's like I'm trying to help people and there's just nothing there. But there's me and my skill set, but I can't do it all by myself. And the society's not set up for something other than an emergency, you know?
And it's truly created a crisis of our time. And the digital world, the pandemic, all of these things are just gasoline on the fire that we need to reverse course on.
Yes, totally agree with you. So, how do you use your music to help reverse that course within your own world?
It is one of the pieces of joy in my life, sharing it with my family and my friends and in in the community when I can to just bring a tiny piece of joy, to start a conversation, to find a connection. I mean, you and I've talked about music, so it isn't necessarily always playing. It's just finding that connection and people can relate and find common ground through music in a lot of different ways. And so it's just a great medium to build community and build people opportunities for people to care about each other.
Yeah, I think, and there's a connection. There's a tight bond with people who ex- experience and play and are involved in music in all the different ways.
Yeah.
I know a lot of
Hey.
people who follow certain bands around, and it's that
Yeah.
camaraderie, that community that
Yeah.
matters.
Well, and I've never met anybody that if you say, "Hey, do you like music?" Well, oh yeah, everybody loves some kind of music, whatever that is. So great, let's start a conversation of what it is and why. And that's a great way to understand a person too of why they like a particular kind of music.
Right. And we sing before we can talk,
It's true.
and so when you think about it, it's just so primal that there's a connection that transcends words because it's pre-verbal in that way. So I think that's really fun. So now I just have a couple random questions because they're fun. One is I know you've studied in Italy and you've been around the block a little bit. You just haven't been sitting at home all the time. And I would love to know the most memorable food you've ever eaten and tell us a little
Mhm.
bit about that experience.
Um, it was in Italy. So we went on a trip. In so this is a long story, but in middle school, we hosted a foreign exchange daughter with our family,
Mhm.
and she became a sister to us, and she got married, and so we all as a family went over to Italy for the big Italian wedding. And just that experience, it was all these courses of food, and they all had a very specific purpose at a specific time around this grand ceremony of bringing family and friends together. And an opportunity to bring my own family together that I don't get to see as often as I'd love to. And so the meal created a great intimate opportunity to connect with people. So it's just a special time with the most amazing food that I've ever had.
And so your mouth is probably watering now.
Oh, really?
All right. And so the final question of the day is, if we were going to put a billboard up that the entire world was going to read with your personal quote, like your name at the bottom of it, what would that be?
Mm. Keep going optimistically.
Oh, I
Uh,
love that one. I love it.
it kind of going back to the John Wooden quote, like wherever you are in your journey, whether you're at the top of a mountain, the deepest valley of despair, or anywhere in between, keep going and find a way to be optimistic about it, because it will turn out great. If it hasn't turned out great, it's not the end of your story. So bringing a little joy and optimism to the world, and keeping people moving forward is all I can hope for.
Oh, that's beautiful. Keep going optimistically. So thank you, Craig, for being on the show. Thank you for sharing your wisdom. I know I'm
Thank you.
inspired. I'm sure everybody is inspired as well. So remember, everybody, keep your face to the sun so the shadows fall behind you, because you're a rock star. You're here on purpose with a mighty purpose. So as Craig says, keep moving forward optimistically. And remember, till the next episode of Someone Gets Me, be well. Are you tired of searching for someone to understand you? Join our Facebook group, Someone Gets Me. In this group, you will be able to connect with others who are intense, sensitive, smart, and talented. I share my insights and teachings, and you can connect with others in a real, authentic, safe forum. So join us today. Someone Gets Me.